My name is Andrea Yeager, and I'm one of your hosts with the honor of introducing an exceptional guest where superlatives over a lifetime are genuinely earned. Known as Lady Magic, someone who shows up, fire, and definitely love and light too. I've known Nancy Lieberman since a kid. Get ready to be wowed. I recently found out there's a whole lot more to Nancy Lady Magic Lieberman's fascinating story than I ever knew. So let's get right to it. Welcome, Nancy. Thank you for joining us.
It is an honor to be on your podcast, but to renew our friendship. God is good, and I'm just so proud to see Adriana and Karen and everything you've done to the Little Stars Foundation is like a blessing. I can't imagine, and I know a lot, but I know there's a lot I don't know about everything you've done for so many people.
Oh, you're so kind. Thank you. I've known you've done amazing things, but recently I'm just like, what? Like, there's so much incredible. And it's not just about the award-winning things that you've received. It's about how you've conducted your life, like how you've lived with such heart and goodness and greatness. And so I'm super excited to share with everyone I know as many of the great things we can get to on this episode. So before we talk about one of your very special friendship stories with Kobe Bryant, I want to give audiences a few of your highlights. Growing up in Queens, New York, as a child, you honed your basketball skills, grit, and determination in Harlem. As a 17-year-old, you represented the United States of America at the Olympics, youngest ever member of that medal-winning basketball team. You helped Old Dominion University to numerous championships. You have been inducted into several Hall of Fames, trained and coached pro athletes to championship trophies and fame in multiple sports. You became the first woman to play with a men's professional basketball team, the first woman to coach a men's basketball team, and many news articles herald you, something of a national celebrity. You serve as an official team ambassador for the WNBA Dallas Wings. You provide dream courts around the country for kids with your Nancy Lieberman charities. You serve as a head coach in the Big Three, hired by Ice Cube, and you are a sought-after NBA analyst. Your role in the NBA, WNBA, women's sports, men's basketball, and life in general is legendary. This is just a short list. What I love about you most is how you went about your life and career. The first ever statue of a person at Old Dominion University is of you. There's a street named after you called the Nancy Lieberman Pass. The street name sums it up best. Your childhood was tough. Still, you made sure every support you received, you passed it along. It's very cool.
There's so much. It's amazing.
It's just, you played it forward to help people. You share and you give. You're extraordinary in elevating to the highest and best others around you. You are a team player in life. You pass along joyfully and gratefully opportunities you receive to give back and benefit children, people, companies, colleges, communities, and our country to make a positive difference. You are competitive, super tough, but you never sell your soul or harm another for a gain. You show up. Thank you for that. Now, could you please share that cool story, what Kobe Bryant did when you were an NBA assistant coach in Sacramento, trying to get in that arena to coach your own pro NBA team? Talk about doors getting opened.
Well, thank you for that beautiful introduction. Way too long. And the most important part about it is I'm a mom, and I'm a mom to an incredible young man, TJ. TJ's 6'9". He's 29 years old, and greatest thing that could have ever happened to me in my life is TJ. So with that, so Kobe and I had been friends for many, many years. And it got even closer when I was hired in 2015 by the Sacramento Kings to be the second female assistant in NBA history. Becky was first with the Spurs. So it's my first game, and we're playing a preseason game against the Lakers in Las Vegas. So the way it works in the NBA, you have a list in the locker room. And so I have my 4 or 5 players that I'm responsible for. So I know that Rondo likes to shoot first, or Rudy Gay. And so we have them. So there's only 2 or 3 at the time. So I go out on the court to warm up Rondo before the game. Everybody has their unique routine, as you know, in tennis. And I'm done with Rondo. He goes in. I'm like right behind him, and I get ready to go to the locker room. And this young man goes, "Ma'am, stop." And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "You can't go back there. That's for the players." And I'm like, "Yes, I know." I go, I coach. He goes, "Yeah. okay, you're not going to be able to go back there. Do you have a pass, or do you have any, credentials? And I went, Sacramento Kings, on my shorts, Sacramento Kings. And he goes, I can't let you go back there. This is the blessing. As I'm like pleading my case, which was so weird, Kobe is walking into that area coming through, where he parked his car, or the team bus. And he looks at me and we give each other a hug and kiss. And he goes, what's wrong? And I go, he won't let me go in the locker room. And Kobe goes, excuse me? He goes, she can't go back there. It's for the players. So Kobe then proceeds to tell this young African-American male, she is an assistant coach in the NBA, and you're going to have your mind open to the possibilities that everybody doesn't look like you think they should look. And you and I know this better than anybody of men of color. We don't like to be profiled. And I went, yeah, what he said. And yeah, we don't like to be profiled. Can I go do my job? So he lets me go through, and Kobe stayed there for a minute and just said, look, this is the way the world is. And I appreciate you wanting to make the back locker room area secure, but she doesn't carry a purse when she's passing the ball to her teammates. So I came out to warm up. I forget, maybe Rudy Gay, and the kiddo went, hey, I'm really sorry. I just didn't know. I said, it's okay. And I do appreciate, Kobe kind of coaching him up a little bit in life. And that was one of many times Kobe's done something for people like myself. And our friendship just continued to grow from there.
It's such a great story, because so often we have an opportunity to walk through a door someone's opened for us, or we can open a door for somebody else. And that's why I wanted to lead with this story, because we are all a product of somebody opening a door for us. And that's such a unique situation, because you watch these superstars on TV like Kobe Bryant, and you're stuck, and a security guard or whoever it is isn't going to let you in. And basically, Kobe, as some of the reporters mentioned it, they said that he basically said, look, if she was a male, there wouldn't be a conversation here, because she's a female, because she's a woman. There's a conversation, and you're not letting her get through. And so it's such a great story, and I love that about. But it also says something about you as well, being hired because you were qualified for that position. It wasn't a gimme. You qualified for that position, and you earned Kobe's respect and the players' respect. So that's a really great story. So now Adriana, who's here, Adriana Solarova, is excited to ask you a few questions, and then I'll join in on plenty of other questions later. Adriana is a Division I college athlete, graduated with a double major, and enjoys teaching art therapy to children with cancer, blind and wheelchair-bound children. And in her free time, she can also be found at a motorcycle track. Adriana's questions are up now.
Hi, Nancy. It is wonderful to be on the podcast with you. Thank you for being with us once again. As Andrea mentioned, so many accomplishments. You have achieved many incredible accomplishments, despite the disparity and constant challenges since you were a child. It is truly inspiring. You mentioned in a few different interviews that I watched that you struggled with controlling some of your frustrations, which resulted in anger at times. And I was curious, where did the anger come from, and how did you learn to manage such a powerful emotion?
It's a fantastic question. Everybody handles things differently. And some people have conflict resolution as a young age. Some people kind of are more alpha. Some, step back because they're just not sure of how to handle it. And I don't know if there's any really perfect way, but so my anger, I was broken in my childhood. And even though I didn't want to say it, because I was I had to be an alpha to, go forward as a girl in a boy's or a man's world. I had no father. There were days we had no food, no electricity, no heat. We were one grandparent away from food stamps. I got tired of people with the Nancy Camp moments. Nancy, you can't do this. Nancy, you're a girl. You can't do this. Are you a tomboy? What's wrong, Nancy? What's wrong with you? Miss Lieberman, what's wrong with your daughter? I was so tired of people telling me what I wasn't, instead of somebody stopping to say, this is what you can be, even though it hasn't been laid out there. You know, I look at somebody like Andrea, even at 14, 15, 16, she had a roadmap through somebody like Billie Jean or some of the other great players of that generation. There was a roadmap. If she stayed healthy, if she trained hard, she had a chance to be successful. We didn't have that. There was no roadmap. Nobody knew you could be a professional woman in sports. Nobody knew a girl could play against guys. So at every step of the way where people were maligning me, I was just getting angry. And so I got to a point where every time people would do that, I'd end up getting in fist fights all the time. And, you know, they call school, Miss Lieberman, Nancy got in another fist fight. I didn't have conflict resolution. And, you know, they're like, well, Nancy, you should go see a psychiatrist. And I would say to my mom, why? Because you need one? I'm good. You know, I was so defensive and defiant. And that is what sustained me. You know, I didn't know if I was going to kill you, quite honestly, at 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. I didn't know if I was going to kill me. I was always angry. Every day I was fighting and hitting a wall and fighting just to be accepted. And, you know, you don't have that love and that tenderness and somebody in the house that can talk you, you know, through your day. And all I had was sports. And I played so hard and competed so hard because if in our sport, you know, you'd shoot foul shots or you know, choose. And if somebody said, I'll take the girl, it was almost like saying you love me and you cared about me. And I needed to hear some positivity about myself. And it came in the form of sports.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. It's very helpful for those that might be in similar position and they just don't know what to do, how to deal with it. So, as previously mentioned, you've done so much, and it's been short of incredible for you, and you're always moving forward, whether it's personally or professionally. What is your next goal in life?
Well, my goals, it sounds crazy. When I was younger, I predetermined my goals. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. You know, some of them were invisible, some of them were visible. And at this point, you know, in 2024, I could have never expected to be doing what I'm doing now, or doing TV for Fox, or doing TV for the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Pelicans, or coaching in the Big Three. Most people are like, why don't you retire? And I'm like, why don't you retire? Because I haven't lost my edge yet. And like, why would you tell me to retire when I wake up happy? I wake thinking, you know, there's somebody out there that I can inspire or help or, you know, be a good influence on. And that's what keeps me going. I'm young enough, God, I'm healthy enough. And, you know, I still have, some people say, you know, that, you know, they're a dog, right? In sports and how they play. And I tell people this, I'm a wolf, because wolves eat dogs. And so don't say I'm a dog, I'm a wolf. And
Yeah.
so my son is always saying to me, Ma, why are you still so competitive? And, you know, you just, you don't need to do this. I said, I know, but God doesn't make mistakes. And this is where I'm supposed to be. Why am I here at this level if this is not what God wants in my life? So could be ownership, could be, working on a higher level with, you know, an NBA team, or I don't have the exact model of where I'm going next, but I know there's something greater ahead for me. And really, I'm just trying to fulfill the things. Two people in life asked me to do important work. Muhammad Ali, when he said, this was a very high level conversation in December of 79. He knew I was broken. We're sitting in the plaza. He's teaching me about being an everyday champion. He's teaching me about racism. He's teaching me about helping people. And the next thing he goes, Nancy, God made you special. And I went, you too? You, everybody. That's amazing, Mr. Muhammad. That is so super cool. What's he like? After that, he knew he could not let me out on the streets by myself. And he never let me, Andrew, he 37 years later, to the day he died, we were thicker than thieves. But, I can laugh at it now, but he was probably mortified, and so he stayed with me. And then, this, Andrea, better than anybody, when I first met Billie Jean King, and, I was just coming out of college and the pie was so small, but I had 90% of the pie in women's basketball. And when I first met her at the French Open, and, one day, she said to me, it's important. I'm 22 now. I don't even know what I'm eating tomorrow. It's important that you lift this game and all of sports. And I'm like, what? I have to do what for who? And so, she also, even today, when I see Billie, she's like, this is your responsibility. When I became the president of the Women's Sports Foundation, this is your responsibility. You owe it to the Austins, to the Jaegers, to all these different athletes in different sports. And it's important because you have a voice and you have a presence. And, I learned long-term success and sustainability from Ali and from Billie Jean. So I owe it to women's sports and to men's sports to be doing what I'm doing now. Ali taught me to respect everybody and fear nobody. I'm not afraid to win. I'm not afraid to coach men. I wasn't afraid to play men. I'm a minimalist. I could win or lose. You can hire me or you can fire me. I can make the right decision coaching or make the wrong decision. I can course correct. I'm open to those possibilities today, where maybe when I was younger, I was more rooted because I was more rooted in lack of confidence or self-esteem or understanding. And today I feel like the things that I do are purposeful and intentional, but I am open to other people's thoughts and opinions. Now, I might not believe in everything you say, but it's okay. And I'm not judging you. I respect you for being, but again, you might go this way and I might, life's about duality, up, down, left, right. We don't have to agree, but we can always respect one another. So I've come a long way.
Thank you so much, Nancy.
Wow, we could definitely ask questions for days. You've had such an interesting
A
life.
lot of wisdom.
You certainly enjoy sharing your learning and experiences as well. Now, Karen joins us. Karen is no stranger to hardship and heartache, a childhood cancer survivor and Little Star Foundation alumni and ambassador. It has been a gift for me to know Karen since she was a child with cancer, having only a 2% chance of survival. And the other thing that I want audiences to know too is just because someone's survived childhood cancer doesn't mean their health is super fantastic their whole life. It's not, oh, they're great, or they're not great. It's a continuing life adventure in that area. But so now we have the honor of Karen joining us on the conversation.
Hi, Nancy. It's a pleasure. I read that you first played football and baseball. However, at the age of 10, you ultimately found your love for basketball. What was it about basketball that made you fall in love with it?
I love basketball because it was split-second decision making. Like, you can't determine everything you're going to do because it might not be there. And you got to play both offense and defense. And it had a beauty, like it getting in the air, the movements, and baseball was my best sport. Football, I loved. But you either, you play offense, you stop, you think, you drop a play, then you go. And in basketball, it's constant flow, movement, and try to understand things in real time, what's happening. There's somebody in front of you, but if you can get by that person, you can manipulate people with your eyes. You can manipulate them by, Andrea calling me Lady Magic because, I would look this way, go that way. You see Pat Mahomes doing it right now, the no-look football pass. And I found it to be fascinating. Maybe that's the control freak in me, but I can make you do what I want you to do. in that game, and you can make people around you better just by communication. It's a fascinating sport. It's physical. You have to be mentally tough. You have to be physically tough. You have to be emotionally tough. And you have to, hope and pray that you don't get seriously injured.
So your nickname, Lady Magic, was inspired by basketball legend Magic Johnson, if I'm correct. Right?
What happened was I was going into my junior year at Old Dominion, and we were one of the best teams in the country. So they had been seeing me go through my legs, around my back, spinning, whatever. And then Michigan State came to Old Dominion to play our men's team in what they call the Optimus Holiday Classic. And so after Irvin did his thing, the Virginian pilot said, well, if he's Magic, then Nancy has to be Lady Magic, because we've been watching this for 2 years. And, when Irvin and I met, and he looks at me and he's like, Lady Magic? I go, yes, sir. And it was just it took on a life of its own. So, I hope the passing is entertainment. And it's a beautiful thing to make people around you better and to entertain. Again, I see things different. There's people in the crowd. They've had a miserable day at work. They, everybody has something. They come to a game, and then they get lost in this thing, this beauty called basketball, and the flow of the game, the power of the game, the speed of the game. And you get to make people happy with what you do. And I always wanted to make people happy with what I did. I was entertaining.
That's interesting. Now, that nickname was just given to you. However, if you could choose a nickname, what would it be?
I've never really been able to choose a nickname for myself, or I never thought about it. When I was growing up in New York and playing up at Rucker Park in Harlem and in the streets, they called me Fire because my hair was fire, and apparently my temper was similar color. So they used to call me Fire. What do you want? I was so New York. I'm like, don't you look at what you looking at? You looking at me? I mean, I ride the trains and I have t-shirts in my jackets, and I glare at you like, why are you looking at me? And people would go, and they'd start reading their magazine again, paper. So I was of the ilk of, I'm going to do it to you before you do it to me. So either Fire from, my youth, or Lady Magic from college and beyond.
Like feisty magic.
There.
But
That's good.
I love what I do. I love walking into NBA arenas, and, like even some of the players today, they'll be like, hey, Lady Magic, or hey, Goat, or hey, Legend, or, just don't call me old lady. Call me anything you want. But, it's so cool to be around today's young people. And as Andrea can attest, you just want to be remembered for doing something good. It just makes you feel good that maybe the history of the game sometimes says thank you to you, because we're all part of the history.
Yeah.
And we all did our part. Like, I love what's happening in the WNBA right now, or NILs right now. I didn't earn that money back then, but I'm so proud of all the women that did what they did, like, the Virginia Slims tour, and what Billie Jean and Rosie Casals and Gladys Hellman, right? They're wizards to me, because they opened the door, for Andrea's generation and Andrea's generation, to open the door for, Capriati. Was Capriati like younger than you, right?
Right, she was after me, and it's a good point that you're making, because Billie Jean and Gladys and Rosie Casals, those the 8 that came in and that grew to others as well, they did it for, like, they had to pay almost their own expenses to just get on the court to play. I mean, it was in my era, we had to pay our own expenses as well, but their prize money wasn't covering their expenses as what it does now. And so they did it for the love of the game. And whenever you see whenever you see a true sports athlete, a pro athlete, or any athlete, whatever level, they do it for the love of it, not for anything else. They do it for the love of it. And I think that it's such a unique testimony to see what's happened in sports now. And I love what you just said. It's about the people who are part of the history, honor them or respect them or acknowledge them, something of that, because so often these lessons are experiences that we're all better people for it. Like, I mean, just in some of what you've said, I knew you from a kid because I was a pro tennis player at 14 and 2 in the world at 16. And so I saw you training different athletes out there, but you always had a great, you were just a happy person. You never took competition to another person there. There was always a hello. There was always a respect. You were just someone that would have been so cool to be around more. And what I acknowledge about that is, I had no idea you had such a rough childhood. Like, what? No food? What? No electricity? What? No father after the age of 8? You were angry as a kid. I never saw one iota of you passion for someone to achieve in sport for sure, but never anger at anybody, no disrespect, no dissing, no any of that. You were a class act and not even an act, genuineness. And so that's what, when we were catching up and talking, and I've followed your career, of course, and seen all these accolades, well-deserved, but what you had to go through, that is something, that's impressive. And I appreciate that. And it brings up to the next thing that I want to talk to you about. We both have had treasured friendships with people who have passed on, and you spoke of Kobe and Ali. I did a project with Ali, so I had the privilege of being around him, certainly later in his life. And then also the visionary David Stern was a big supporter and friend of mine, and same for you. And Paul Newman and Ted Forsman were hugely instrumental in my life. And even Nelson Mandela came to visit and thank me for like humanitarian work. There's so many things that I've had blessings from Little Star Foundation that I've met people and seen people. But what you and I also have in common is, and I want audiences to know this, and we'll talk about this with you a little bit more, is that so often we look for someone that is maybe a familiar for us to learn from. And I played on a boys soccer team as a kid, a traveling soccer team. All the boys were fantastic. They had my back. I was as much of a teammate to them as any of the other boys that were there. And so I was very fortunate. A lot of the men, I've mentioned some of them that were growing, fantastic people who didn't need to help Andrew Yeager, the tennis player. They were already gladiators in life. They were already like so successful in everything they did, but they stopped to acknowledge, they stopped to help, they stopped to support. And in your situation, same thing. You had these boys that were on the basketball court with you, and they were there for you. And then the men and that have hired you as a coach, for NBA teams, and Ice Cube bringing you in and being a coach. That those are decisions that, when they're sitting at the dinner table somewhere or a boardroom somewhere, those men are saying, why are you doing that for that woman? Why are you doing that for, we could put another guy in here. And they don't. They say, you know what, this is the best person for the job. This is the best person for this program. And so I love that. And Billie Jean's helped, like, sports are total, boys, girls, men's, women's sports are completely different because of her. And so I want to bring this up, which is kind of unique. Did you get the Martin Luther King Humanitarian Award? Did you get a Martin Luther King Humanitarian Award? Is that right?
Last year.
Yeah.
Last year. It was crazy.
It's like, so your list of awards are huge. I've had quite a few in my life. I received the Jackie Robinson Humanitarian Award, and I was the first woman. You were the first white woman to receive the Martin Luther King Humanitarian Award. Can you just share a little bit about that?
They don't know I'm white. Can you not put this on your podcast?
So, because everybody labels people, and I just want the audiences to know, if we could just see everyone as like a heart, just this like loving heart and no colors. We get rid of all this racism, we get rid of all the inequality, and just see people as one, as our family. And so congratulations on that. That's just, I mean, wow. So how is that? And we're not award people. Okay. I just want to say that Nancy's not an award person. I'm not an award person. But when someone comes and says, thank you for what you've done, and you've supported this community and you've done something fantastic, and we love you for that. Hey, I'm all for sharing the love here for sure.
No, it's the same thing, again, I'm going to give you my Ali isms from 20 years old. And he told me the greatest religion of all is love and kindness. And I was like, what, really? And it really probably didn't resonate with me until later in life. But here's what I can tell you, that when I was angry and going through what I told you about my childhood, when I went into Rucker Park, I was protected. I was celebrated. I was not tolerated. People who didn't look like me were very, very protective. Once we kind of got past like, hey, little girl, what are you doing at the park? I said, my mom don't know I'm here, but I need to be good. And are you good? It was so organically real. And then this one kid goes, you're here at Rucker Park. I said, yeah, I know. I heard the really best players play here. And I said, is your name Rucker? And the kid goes, no. And I said, good, it's not your park. And that kind of cut through all the red tape, because everybody was like, oh, well, this little 12-year-old redhead, she just like, and so after that, they would be like fire. What trainer, there was no texting, there was no, voicemail, no email, no cell phones. You had to actually say, I'm going to be on the 5:10, train. And they would meet me at the station at 155th. In Harlem, and they'd walk into the park with me. I learned so much. So people go, Nancy, you've given over $11 million to Black, Brown, Latino causes. Well, yeah, why wouldn't I was protected by the Black community. I was celebrated by the Black community. I wasn't told what I can't do. I was told what I could do. When I was trying to make the Olympic team in 1976 and the Pan Am team in 1975, when I was 16, people were like, no, she can't make it. She's too young. She's too there we go, Nancy Camp moments again. And they're like, fire, just play like you play against us. It's okay. Just play hard. They got me ready. I'm 16, we won the gold medal at the Pan Ams. I'm 16, we win the silver medal at the Olympics, and I'm still the youngest Olympian, male or female, for the United States in basketball history. Without the support of that community, I'm not doing this podcast with you. And every step of the way, I've been hired by men. And I said this many, many years ago, women, we got to stop pointing fingers at men and saying they're holding us back. They're not holding us back. They're hiring us. They're changing our life. They're giving us generational wealth. I'm a poor kid and have been able, like you, Andrea, to make millions and millions of dollars just to help people. There's only so much that we need, or to show my son a different way of life and how to help people. So yeah, that's what I do with our dream courts and Nancy Lieberman charities. And, our dream courts are really communiversities where, you want people to, I think people want to organically commune with one another. Nobody wants to be isolated. Nobody wants segregation. And if you do, call me, because I'll talk you out of it. And so we bring people together of, all different religions and, ethnic background, young, old, girl, boy, it doesn't matter. And now you build, this trust. It doesn't have to be perfect. And on Dream Courts, it's the pop-up classrooms. You can express yourself. We have mental health programming, breathing, STEM, financial literacy, civic engagement, career readiness, kids and cops. Young kids are not inherently mad at police officers. Young kids are not inherently racist. Those two things are prevalent in some, a lot of our society. And we have to look for the good people and try to do our best to stay away from the bad people. So that's what we do. We have education. We've sent 100 high school seniors to college. We don't just pay their tab. They have my cell number. They have my email. Nothing in life is free. You have to stay in touch with me. You have to tell me if you're happy, you're sad, you're mad, whatever. We help them with their resumes. We help them to paid internships and jobs in their vocation of interest, to the best of our ability. we've been doing social racial justice lecture series. Like I go to HBCUs, 4 colleges, 4 high schools a year. It's awesome because inevitably I'll show up and like I'm the only white person, and a woman of color will get standing up, put her hand on the hip and start doing this to me and telling me, why are you here? And I go, why are you here? You know, this is just me organically. I'm like,
I
why
love
are you here? And I'm like, why are you profiling me? Don't you hate that? I'm like, I have a choice. I can be here or not be here. Why are you here? You have a choice. You don't have to stay. But what happens if, you know, you find out that you like me? And I'm mildly sarcastic. I think I'm funny. My son says I'm not. But there's a lot of truth to who I am. Why don't you get to know me and not look at my color? And everybody's like clapping and they're like, sit down. And I'm like, yeah, what they said. And then all of a sudden, an hour later, you know, she's hugging me because we're talking and we're communicating and we're sharing and we have love and empathy and kindness. And, you know, I'm not afraid. Some people are afraid. I'm not afraid. I want to help people.
Yeah. And
that's
what's
why I do
great.
what I do.
Yeah. And what's so great about you is it's the show up aspect, because the other thing is sometimes people think you have to do something grand. It's showing up is showing up. It's you said this. There's a couple things that I wanted to mention that what some of your philosophies, and one of them is you have a see it, say it, and be it philosophy. And then another great thing about you is you've always had courage to stand up, like for what you believe in. You've never been afraid to share a truth. It might, a lot of times truths aren't that popular. It's not so much fun sometimes to share a truth, but if it's important for culture, or if it's important for people, it's sometimes it's the best thing to know the truth, because we can get further along for humanity that way. And so you've always said it doesn't take talent to show up. And so I want to make sure for audiences, whether, you know, whatever age you are, if anyone ever says to you that they will show up for you and they don't show up, maybe that's a blessing, because it could hurt. It could be an ouch at first, maybe even a little longer at first. But then remember the other thing that Nancy already said today, that God never makes mistakes. There's over 8 billion people in the world. And guess what? There are people in communities that will show up. And so they're out there. They're definitely out there. So whether it's going to be, and if you keep it out of the box. So if you're a girl looking for someone that's similar in that sport, or it might be a boy that helps you along the way. It might be, you know, it could be someone that looks exactly like you, or maybe looks different. But look at Nancy's, like the way you've grown up, Nancy, is with a support system that didn't look like you, didn't behave like you, didn't know you, and yet they loved you and they accepted you, and they, you know, they gave you an opportunity to love yourself and to love them. And so there's so many cool things about that. So goodness, the time has gone so fast. So there's one thing I want to bring up. I was going to bring up something about your son later, but you did that already, which is fantastic. I'm so glad you did. But and it's similar to that question, but a little different, because when you're a parent, did that change anything for you? Because I know you say you don't fear anything. For me, running a children's cancer foundation, and we help children in need as well. And with the long-term care, this is our 2024 is our 39th year. And so I think of life differently. I take risks for sure that I know I'm very researched on, I'm very aware of. I know I'm called to do certain projects, so those are okay. But I look at the mitigation of those risks, because I have responsibility. I have to be accountable to the certain things I do. So you had a really funny story about, yeah, I'm not afraid of anything, but I'm also not stupid. I'm not going to jump out of a plane and go skydiving. And I'm like exactly the same. People go, why don't you go skiing, or why don't you go do all these other cool things? No, I have a responsibility. My risk
It's
isn't like
risk
fundraising.
assessment.
Yes, exactly.
It's risk mitigation and assessment. And the way I look at it in my life, and it's probably the same with you. The first part of my life I was learning, the middle part of my life I was earning, and this piece of my life I'm returning. I'm giving back to others, and you cannot be afraid to give back, because there's going to be some other person who and it's not age restrictive. You know, I could look at somebody at 50 years old and go, have you ever tithed? Have you ever done this? Have you ever given to somebody else? Because I know a lot of people, and so do you, that have passed away. And as far as I know, their money's not in their coffin, or they didn't burn it in the urn. So you might as well use some of what you have to help somebody else, because your legacy is not what you did for you. Your legacy is what you've done for other people. And
Exactly.
you know, I want my son, and he's already like that. He cares so much about people. He gives so much of his time, his effort. He mentors. I'm so proud of TJ. And, you know, sometimes, you know, it's mother and son, or mother and, you know, child. We butt heads on certain issues. I have had to learn to be open-minded, and not dismiss him. And let me tell you, it's taken a long time, because I'm rooted in my belief system in certain things. And he's really taught me to open up. And he's not always asking me for my opinion. Sometimes he just wants me to shut up and listen to him.
Mhm.
And, you know, I'm so used to giving my opinion because I'm Nancy Lieberman, and this is what I do. And I tell like, zip it, right? Zipit.com, stop. And just, you know, communication is 360. Part of it is talking, the other half is listening, and to what the other person has to say. And I have not mastered, you know, mastered the things that take no talent. It doesn't take talent to show up. It doesn't take talent to want to help somebody else. It doesn't take talent to have a finisher's mentality. And the most important thing, it doesn't take talent to listen, to hear people. And then we can respond to what they're saying. Nobody listened to me when I was younger.
Yeah, I knew that one. I know that one.
Yeah, Nancy, you're stupid, you're dumb, you're not going to make anything of yourself. Well, I'm so thrilled that you're in my life. And you know, and you get to this point in your life, and sometimes you got to cut bait with people. It doesn't mean I don't love you, I don't care about you. I'm not skydiving with you, right? That's the way it is.
Exactly, exactly. So, okay, to end this, I'm going to ask you, I'll let you think about this. I'm going to ask you one treasured sentiment, prayer, or mantra. You've said a lot of them. We've mentioned a lot of them. So I'm going to give you a moment on that to finish this up. But I want to share this one super short story. And I don't even know if you know this or remember this, but I was playing in a Houston mixed doubles tournament, and I was a teenager, and you were holding a special event in Dallas, and it was very exclusive. You were only inviting a few certain people, and it was for basketball. And it was that same weekend, and I was so excited because you invited me, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was so excited. And so I asked my dad, and my dad was a great coach, and he knew I very rarely ever asked to do anything. I went to children's hospitals as a kid. I gave all my money away later on. He didn't quite understand that later, but then he did eventually. But this, he said I could go to. He respected you as a trainer. He respected you as a person. And he said I could go only if I was out of the tournament. And so I was super excited, but I was playing mixed doubles, and I didn't want to let my partner down. So I had to try my best. And so each match I was like, uh-oh, because yours was on the weekend. And if I got to the finals, I couldn't go to your event. And so every match I'm like, oh, we won, bummer. Okay, next match, oh my gosh, we won, bummer. The next time. So then we're playing the Wimbledon final, the people who won Wimbledon. For sure. I'm like, okay, whatever. You know, they won Wimbledon. They could easily win this match against us, but I still have to try my best because I have a partner here. I have to be responsible to that. And we won that match. And winning that match in the semis meant I couldn't go. And that was one of the most disappointing things ever. And you probably never even knew. It was probably like an agent said, no, Andrew's not coming. You probably never even knew why or what, but I was in this tournament, and I couldn't, and it was so funny because the next day in the finals, I was so bummed out. I wasn't where I wanted to be. I barely hit a ball in the court the next day in the finals. But the cool thing about it is, like you said, when we've come full circle, like I've always been a fan of yours. I've always known what you know, some of what you've been doing, and you've always cheered me on. Like you'll send an email and see something and go, way to go, Andrew. That's so awesome. I'm so proud of you. I'm praying for you. And I've always respected you. But the interesting thing is we never had that connection other than me knowing this is a pretty amazing person. She's always kind. She's always respectful. She's a winner. She'll never sell her soul to win something, and she's really positive energy, great energy. But we went separate ways in life, but we very similar trajectory in terms of we just give our all. We just give every single moment of our life. We're grateful to God, and we wake up and go, how can we make a difference to someone else? And so I'm just super excited because I feel like I'm now on your dream team or your dream board. I'm like, oh my gosh, I get to have that in life now as an
But you
adult.
are. Hey,
So
you know this, everybody, on this knows this. Anybody who's ever been great in life has never done it by themselves. So for you to be successful in helping others, especially kids with cancer, you need a super team of people that believe in you. I don't have kids knowingly that have those horrible, tragic, ailments in life. But we can take a perfectly good, super young person and change their life's trajectory. We're dream givers. We're not hope stealers, and try to connect them and network them to people who are similar to them, people who are different than them, so they could hear all sides of life's equation. And let me just say this before I give you my final thought. When you didn't show up at the clinic that I was doing, I'm still in therapy, so that's on you. And no, I'm only kidding. And the end of this for me is, I always think of, have you ever heard of the drowning man? Do you guys know what the drowning man is?
No.
Okay, so there's this guy and just believed in God, okay? He's in the middle of the ocean and he's drowning and he's flailing around. And he's like, I'm a good person and I believe in you. And so God sends a boat and he goes, no, I'm good. God will save me. Then he sends a helicopter. They drop the ladder, and they go, pick up the ladder, grab it. No, I'm a faithful man. He said he'll protect me. The helicopter goes away. Here comes somebody swimming from the shore. Quick, get on my back. I will take you back. No, I do not need this. I believe in God. And so the man drowns and he dies and he goes to heaven and he sees God and he goes, God, you weren't there for me. You told me you would always be there for me. And God goes, I sent a boat, I sent a helicopter, and I sent a swimmer. Sometimes in life, you just need to allow people to help you. That's
Yeah,
as
beautiful. Wow.
as I can get. We all need somebody to help us.
Yeah.
I can't do my charity work by myself. I need people who believe in me and believe, we have over 5.5 million children a year that we service and serve. We need people to believe in us. You need people to raise money for young children with cancer. Everything's important.
it's well said. It is true. We all could use the help, and then when the help is there and I always remember that, and I'm like, the next time I get asked, I'm just not going to play in that tournament at all. And I didn't get asked another time, and so I thought about this is better. It's like you said, God never makes mistakes, and so things come full circle. Opportunities will come around, but take advantage of the ones that you have, certainly. And you've done that and given back and more, and certainly grateful for that. And so blessings to you, your son, and thank you for all that you do. We'll definitely take you up on the second parter on it. And
Yes.
just I'm gonna start getting a jersey with a 10 on the back and said, I'm a member of the dream team, because that was your number, I think. So anyway.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nancy. This was amazing. Oh,
Yeah.
so
Thank you
much
so much
wisdom.
for having me. I appreciate you, Karen, and everybody. So be
Yeah.
well. God bless you all.